The servo is beeping, the battery is full, and the smart BMS in the Jakiper battery creates an overvoltage alarm. Because the cells are so unbalanced, I cannot charge the battery to 55.2 volt, which the MPPT just did. Before we hit the 55.2 volts, we are getting an overvoltage protection from cell number 7 or cell number 6. See that? It's not good. Guys, and welcome back to another video here from the Off-Grid Garage in not so sunny Australia today. Still very bright sky, which is perfect. 3 kilowatts. So I have now managed to fully charge all our test batteries here. The 2 Zeppelin batteries, the Jakiper battery and the QSO battery are all full. The solar charge controller flashes on absorption. And as we have just seen, the Jakiper battery actually had an overvoltage protection situation. And I've just opened the QSO battery here, and I can see the balancer is actually working. So our electronic has now turned on the active balancer. And when we have a look at the QSO battery here, we can see all these yellow highlighted cells, they get balanced by the BMS. And we've got a deviation of only 18 millivolt at 3.45 volts. Can still see cell number 15 and 16 are the highest as we had before, but they are now getting balanced with the active balancer. Because the deviation is so small now, the active balancer is actually not doing that much anymore, but over time it will perfectly balance this battery out to 1 millivolt deviation only. And at least we are not running into a situation anymore where the BMS turns off the whole battery because one cell was peaking. So this combination now with the voltage trigger here and the active balancer works perfectly fine. It only turns on the balancer above, what did we set, 55 volts or something? I linked this video down below. There are all the details and links where you can purchase the active balancer and also the trigger electronic for it. And here I've quickly connected to the smaller Zeppelin battery with 135 ampere hours. And we've got a voltage difference of 47 millivolt here. The passive balancer of the BMS has kicked in and is balancing the cells. But as we know, they are not great. And this is the larger 280 ampere hour Zeppelin battery. And we can see a deviation here from 429 to 471. That's 41 millivolt as well, deviation. So very similar to the other Zeppelin battery, and the passive balancer and these BMSs, they really have trouble to balance these high capacity cells. Hence we are installing active balancer in all these batteries now. So let's have a look in the Jakiper battery, what we can actually do and how to install an active balancer on this battery. Well, we've got our cells on this side, BMS down here, but there's heaps of space down here. So I'm really thinking of putting one of the good old NEEY active balancers in the Jakiper battery, because I still have the generation 1, this generation 2 and the generation 4 of these active balancers. Well, number 1 and 2, they have some flaws. They work, they balance, but you need to control them manually. But I think it is fine because I can just connect via Bluetooth to these active balancers and turn them on and off manually if needed. So it looks like the 2 pairs of cable strings the NEEY active balancer comes with are actually long enough to reach all our battery cells here in this battery box. If we place the balancer somewhere over here, we can connect it from the top. And then the cables are long enough to run over here and through this metal duct to all these cells. I just need to find some M8 ring lugs for these cables and start crimping. So I have now removed the lid of this metal duct here, and we can see there's no PCB or something in it, like in the Zeppelin batteries. It's really being used as a cable duct only, and we can hide all the cables in these duct as well. Then, so I don't need to cut any of the cables. I'll leave them as long as they are and just run them here in the loop and connect them to the different cells. So we're also going to use some Velcro strips here to mount the NEEY balancer inside the Jakiper battery. I had to actually look up how to connect the NEEE Active Balancer to our battery, because we are not using all of the cables. Of the second plug we are using only 4 of the cables, all the other ones are NC, not connected. And then the positive of cell number 16 and the main positive of the active balancer need to go together. Yeah, there you can see it. The last one of your series connection is the same as the main positive. So, and now I want to measure the torque they have used to tighten these nuts here. And just tighten it again and see when the nut actually spins. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's around 8. Yeah, I'm sure it's 8. 8 Newton meters. So the connection of the NEEE Active Balancer is very easy. You've got 2 connectors here. One is a bit wider than the other, so you cannot mix up your cables. And with the cables, we only have 1 black wire and 1 red wire here in the other smaller connector. And the black wire is our main negative, which is our B negative here on the port. And these connectors only connect one way around anyway. So you're ending up with a black wire here on B negative. And plugging in the smaller connector, you're ending up with a red wire here on B positive. But before that, I'm actually turning off the battery. We have the switch and also the breaker. So there's no connection to the outside world. And the BMS has now turned off. And we want to start working on the battery over here. This is our main negative. So this is where the black cable of the balancer connects to. And then we work our way across cell number 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And then jump to the second row. Here, down here. You have to look here. Then jump to the second row and go all the way up to number 15 and number 16 on this side here. And as long as we are working on this area here, we want to cover all the other bus bars and terminals, so there's no way we can short anything. And the easiest way to do this is if you just use an old shirt or an old rag. Sorry, Joe. And we'll leave only the terminals open which we are working on. I actually want to cover these 2 as well, because this is the 48 volts. So if you make a short here, not good. So, and now we've got only 1 terminal exposed and we can start working. Okay. So we just place our balance cable on top of the other balance cable. And tighten the nut again. Right, then we push this cable into the gap of the metal duct and we've got the first one done. You know what's coming now, right? Okay, I made it around our battery. We've got all the cables connected now, and the last one will be the main positive over here. I've actually lowered the torque to 6 Newton meters only from 8. 8 was far too much. I checked some of the other nuts as well, and they were around 5 to 6, so I set it to 6 now. That's perfect. Okay, now it's time to clean up these cables. What a mess. So now here in the QSO battery, 6-7 millivolt deviation only, down from 20. And in the, what is that here? That's the Sepler's Mason battery. We are down from 44 to 40 in the same time frame. Takes forever. This is the power of Velcro. What an amazing invention. So I have now organized all the balance cables here inside this metal duct. So before we connect our active balancer, we have to measure the cables and make sure they are in the right order and we haven't mixed anything up here, because this would destroy your balancer immediately. I know you probably won't see anything here on the display. Okay, so starting with a negative. First positive should be 3 volts. Doesn't give us anything here because I have pressed. And 54.5. And all the other ones are nothing. And the last one is 54.5 as well. Yep, maximum voltage. All right, all good. All right, and this is our big moment when we connect the good old, well, it is really an old version here, the good old NEEE to the Jakiper battery. So let's see. We are connecting the wider plug first with a negative, then the second port, and we can hear beep. It is alive. So we can also see the blue light there flashing. And let's have a look on the app. Scan. Connecting, and here's our NEEE Active Balancer Generation 1. Oh, it's already balancing, I think. Yeah, it looks like it's already balancing with 3 amps. Now 3.3, we can say 3.3. So it turns off at 3.3 volts and it turns automatically on 0.3 volt higher, so at 3.6 volts. Whenever one cell hits 3.6, it turns on, and at 3.3 it turns off again. This was the limitation of the Generation 1 Active Balancer from NEEE. And we can see the green light there. It's actually balancing at the moment. So the NEEE Active Balancer is now installed but deactivated at the moment. I want to have a quick look again at the Pace BMS, which is in the Jakiper Battery. My contact at Jakiper Battery has told me that the internal balancer of the BMS actually stays on if you reach an overvoltage protection. It only turns off if you don't reach that and your current goes to 0, then it stops balancing as well. And he sent me a video and it was showing that. So I'm just doing this test again. We are at 3.64, so cell number 7 should turn off any moment. 3.65, there it is. Okay, overvoltage protection. Yep, now he's right. The balancer stays on actually. Well, I don't know why we couldn't see this the first time. Maybe I have to rewatch my own video. Yeah, you can see here cell number 7, 3.64. I need to... Jeez, where's my other classes? It's slowly going down now because the balancer is working on this cell now. It doesn't really matter because now we've got the NEEE Active Balancer installed. And I want to activate it right now. We've got a deviation of 262 millivolt. It is going slowly down, 2.635, so it is coming down because the balancer is still working. But during normal operation, you don't want the BMS to turn off with an over voltage protection, right? This is really just a protection setting if something else goes wrong. If your solar charge controller is faulty, has the wrong settings and keeps charging the battery over the set point, or when you're discharging, the inverter doesn't turn off at an under voltage situation. The BMS is there for protection. This is what the P in OVP says, protection. It is not a regular base to charge your battery or even to reset a BMS to 100%. Okay, without further ado, let's turn on the NEEE 260 millivolt we have. All right, it is turned on, it is balancing, and we should see cell number 7 and 6 being discharged now very quickly. Let me turn off this beeping. It's the servo. The BMS is connected to the servo still and reports this over voltage protection as an alarm, which is good. It's good, right? It's good. Yeah, look at this. We can see the voltage dropping now. So it discharges the red cell here and puts the energy into the blue cell. And because this is the Generation 1, I had to actually watch my video again. So we cannot set a start voltage for the Active Balancer. We can only set a sleep voltage, which is 3.3 volts here in this case. And for some reason, I'm not able to change that. I think this balancer only works with an older app. And for example, the equalization voltage here is not even available to set in this Generation 1 Active Balancer. But it doesn't really matter. The Active Balancer would now kick in at 3.6 volt if one of the cells hits 3.6 volts. And then it would turn off again at 3.3 volt, which is already again in the flat area of the discharge curve, so it's not ideal, but at least it turns off at 3.3 and doesn't keep discharging. On the other hand, if you discharge your battery very slowly only with very small loads, you may stay in this upper voltage area quite for some time. And even you are already in the flat area of the curve, the balancer still keeps working then on your battery, which is not ideal, because it can create a big imbalance in your battery over time. And then when you charge up again the next time, you have totally destroyed your top balancing, and the balancer has to work even harder, if it is capable at all to rebalance your battery pack. But here for this purpose it's fine, because I will turn it on from time to time only when I observe the battery is out of balance. 160! We're almost 100 millivolt down. This goes so fast. Active Balancer is amazing. Even generation 1. Look at this! I actually don't think I need the Velcro in this case here, because the balancer, it can't really move anywhere. Well, we give it a try. Push this in the corner first. So bottom and side. All right. Oh, that is very stable. I'm impressed. Imagine you're dropping this metal lid now onto the battery. Holy shit. Okay, and the last Velcro strip for today. There we go. Look at this, huh? Maybe I use another one over here. Alright, we have now successfully installed the NEEY Active Balancer here in the Jakiper Battery. It looks pretty good. Pretty happy with the result. Can't see much of it. Everything is tucked away in these ducts. And this one sits here nice and firm in the case. No problem with the lid at all. As if the balancer is made for this battery. Okay, I think we have now fully charged this battery here. We are at 58.2 volts, and we've got a deviation of 6 millivolt only. If I go a little bit higher, I think we will trigger an overvoltage protection. All the cells are red. We've got a pack overvoltage warning on alarm and the cell overvoltage as well, of course. A few people complained a bit about the last discharge test I did with the Jakiper battery here, because I forgot to reset the Victron smart shunt, which measures our capacity. And even we did the calculation afterwards, there was a bit of concern that this result was actually not as precise as it should be here on the channel. And I thought, well, the battery is now 100% top balanced here and fully charged, maximum 100%, 100.00% charged. Why not do quickly another discharge test for the next 4.5 hours, dump this energy into the Tesla and see how much we get. All right, so 3 millivolt deviation we have, so that's insane. Okay, let's go into the smart shunt test environment, go into our history, and we click the reset button. Yes. All right, so everything is on 0 now. I'll plug in the Tesla and I'll be back in a second. Okay, set this one to 5 amps, which is our 1 kilowatt, around 0.2 C. And set this one to 70% or something, whatever. And we go back into our smart shunt test. Yep, everything is on 0. Perfect conditions. And we are discharging with about 21 amps. It's terrible. There we can see 1100 watts, 21 amps. It will run for 10 hours, it says. What? Ah, it comes down now. So we should be done in about 4.5, 5 hours or so. All right, see you then. So the active balancer is still running, hasn't turned off yet. Even we are under 3.3 volts. Which is our setting here. All cells are under 3.3 volts and still running. Ah, now it has turned off. Yeah, there also was a time delay of about, I don't know, I can't remember. There was some weird construct of formula. If it's under the sleep voltage for 150 seconds or something, it turns off. So it has now turned off. So it is actually working, and it will turn back on if one of the cells goes over 3.6 volts now. Yeah, 0.3 over the sleep voltage, which is not good. But at least it turns off, so it doesn't balance all the time. We've got the first beep. And nothing on the display. Ah, state of charge low. Okay, there's another setting. Nothing to worry about. Keep going. So we are at 5.1 kilowatt hours. And we have pulled 98.2 ampere hours. Smart Chart claims at 0%. And the BMS says we are at 1%. And since we are at 5%, it beeps. State of charge low, but I cannot find any settings for that. Must be a hard-coded thing. And quite for a while, our cell number 9 is our lowest again, like in the first test. So might be worth testing cell number 9 and do a full capacity test. Okay, 100 ampere hours. We have met our specifications. 5.2 kilowatt hours. 2.65 volts, and we have a pack under voltage, a cell under voltage, and a low state of charge alarm. Yeah, but as you could see, cell number 9 is not far away from all the other cells. They are following fast. We've got like 1 to 6 cells now with a under voltage alarm, and that's it. Inverter has turned off. 100.3 ampere hours. It was 100.3 ampere hours and 5.2 kilowatt hours. In the first test, we had 102.9 ampere hours and 5.1 kilowatt hours. But you probably can test it 5 times and you will get 5 different results. Oh, my bad again. The pack under voltage protection is sitting on 43.2 volts for some reason. I don't know what's going on here. This should be on 40 volts. Guys, I'm not going to repeat the test again. The battery is meeting its specifications, and you will definitely get over 100 ampere hours out of this battery pack and more than 5.1 kilowatt hours. Okay, right, all. Ah, we can't do it anymore. The BMS has turned off now. BMS had shut off. Everything is off. That's it. Okay, well, the main purpose of this video was to put in the active balancer actually, which is working fine. It has perfectly top balanced our battery pack. Have a look if we can connect to the NEEEEEEEEY Active Balancer. We can actually, oh that's good. So we've got a deviation of 104 millivolt at around 2.6, 2.7 volts then. So that's alright. Okay guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your amazing support. All these wonderful and beautiful people who have donated to the channel, thank you very much for that. And until the next video, when we do something with our... Yeah, exactly. You stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye-bye.